Isn't that creepy? An alleged doctor chemically blinds her and she's totally fine with it. It's clear that this physician's license needs to be revoked because how many jewels this person has dealt with? How many more patients has this doctor helped? I'm surprised there's no investigation behind this case. There's a lunatic with a degree and we're okay with it?
A homemade helium mylar balloon believed to be carrying a 6-year-old boy.
I am the living man.
Yes, my mother twitted my tampons!
Remember that lady who faked Tourette's?
It's too hot. Jump into hell. Oh god. Oh, it's in my hair. Oh, it's in my hair.
All her tics were conveniently cute and random, and then she was later exposed and ran away from the internet. What if I told you there is a magical world full of people not only pretending to be sick, but making themselves sick? And the reasons vary, from financial, attention, or even erotic. Today we are going to talk about one of the most uncomfortable corners of human behavior. People who fake disabilities, induce them in others, or even create them in themselves. And why that matters. With examples, each of them exposes a different motive and category. External gain, psychological need, identity transformation, and self-harm. By the end, you will see the pattern and why society, medicine, and victims get hurt because of them. But before we continue, if you like digging into bizarre beliefs, hoaxes, controversies, and overall entitled people ruining their lives, hit subscribe. We do this every week. Imagine waking up every day and pretending your body or mind doesn't work like others, even though you know it does. Some people actually do this. They might claim disorders and illnesses without a real diagnosis or even hurt themselves to qualify. This goes beyond just pretending. It can be a mental health condition, a scheme, sometimes both. And there are categories for that. We have malingering, consciously faking or exaggerating a disability for external gain, say money, benefits, or easier work tasks. Factitious disorder imposed on self or another. A person intentionally produces or pretends to have symptoms of an illness without obvious external rewards. They may want attention, be a caregiver, or assume the patient role. And we also have transabled disability pretenders and self-hindering. Some people claim or enact disabilities, sometimes seeking them, maybe for emotional, identity, or sexual reasons. Patricia Rogers, a woman from the UK, had a car accident in 2014 that left her on crutches. Patricia claims her back was whacked by the collision, and funny enough, the person who struck her worked for an insurance company, so she sued the company and won close to £500,000. But the insurance company did not believe her story, so they started following her to catch her in a lie. And what do you know? In April 2021, she was taking a taxi to her medical appointment with no crutches in sight and walking perfectly fine. Not only that, but earlier that day, Patricia was spotted walking her dogs without a cane for 40 minutes.
Gotcha, bitch!
So the insurance company told this to the London Police's Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, and in November of the same year, she was interviewed about this, but she had a reason. Patricia could walk for 40 minutes without an aid because of the dog's leash.
What? Oh. Okay.
This became infamous, so she was invited to the Jeremy Kyle show and... Patricia pleaded guilty to fraud in February of 2024 and had to pay £500 and served 12 months in prison. 10 years, £500,000, and zero shame. This story is a textbook case of malingering, consciously exaggerating or fabricating a disability for material rewards, and that will be those £500,000. But she paid the price, so why does it matter? Well, that money didn't appear out of nowhere. Those were resources meant to be for victims. Insurance prices are only gonna go up because of these type of stunts, and good luck trying to get the insurance company to believe you. Everyone is a liar now. And Patricia didn't need more than a pair of crutches to fool everyone again. For 10 years, she made a fool out of officials who maybe should have done a better job because a spinal injury can be seen with an X-ray or something like that. Someone screw up here and allow Patricia to milk the city dry. And this case is sadly not a weird one. Currently, there are thousands of people using malingering as the perfect tactic to get some easy money at the expense of real victims. In 1985, Richard Angelo became a nurse at Good Samaritan Hospital. Previously, he was a scout and a volunteer firefighter, so it's clear he was dedicated to helping others. Wonderful qualities in a human. Richard worked at the ER and intensive care unit. He had such good grades that doctors would leave their most critical patients in his care. Richard was seen in his community as a hardworking and compassionate man, and people around him were really proud of what he had become. I think that level of recognition did a number on him because he craved the spotlight. But how could he be noticed as the best nurse while relying on people's health? Well, by creating chaos. Richard will use Pavulon, a muscle relaxer used for euthanasia cases, and one of the 3 components of the lethal injection, and anectine, another muscle relaxer used for facilitating intubation, to play hero. Both of these drugs can cause the heart to stop or even kill the patient. Richard will inject the victim with the concoction, and then after a code blue, meaning the victim began to suffocate, he will be the one reviving them. There were around 37 blue codes under his care, and of those, he let 26 of them die. Everything was uncovered when a 75-year-old foreign patient came to the hospital and went critical under Richard's care. But this time, doctors examined the patient and found the concoction. Richard was arrested in 1987 after finding the 2 medications at his place. His trial was in 1989 when he confessed to everything, but his goal wasn't to murder people, it was to play hero. He wanted people to admire his quick thinking and his math skills. But sometimes Richard will inject a patient, save them, and later inject them again. That compassion people claim he had? Oh boy. Richard was convicted of second-degree murder for 4 of the patients and assault for the others. He was sentenced to 61 years in prison. This is a clear example of Munchausen by proxy, also known as factitious disorder imposed on another. Deliberately harming others, then jumping in with a solution in the middle of a crisis just for attention. And who knows if this only happened in that hospital because he previously worked on 2 others. And he was also a volunteer firefighter, so yeah. This is not about money. This is all about control. Controlling the situation they created only to save the day. But when this disorder is involved with someone you have to trust, like a nurse, it can turn deadly in an instant. Jewel Shuping was a peculiar little girl. She will often stare at the sun for hours and wander through dark halls at night. By the time she was a teenager, she bought herself a cane, learned Braille, and fantasized about one day becoming completely blind. In 2006, she knew what she wanted, but I guess she felt it was wrong, so she sought help from a psychologist, a sketchy psychologist. Instead of sending her to a psychiatrist, this doctor helped her out by pouring Drano on her 2 perfectly healthy eyes. Everything was so surreal. She could feel the acid pouring from her cheek, horribly burning her, but she powered through because she knew her dream was about to become a reality. After the psychologist, whose identity Jewel refuses to say, by the way, after this person was done, they took her to the ER where they tried to save her eyesight. At first, it worked. Jewel said she could see the TV just fine, making her sad, of course. But over time, her eyes wither away, and now she is completely blind. And her family? Well, she told her mom and sister it was all an accident, but over time she confessed, and I guess mom and sister were done with her lies, weird behavior, and her lack of cooperation that they cut all contact with Jewel. But she doesn't care. All she wanted was to be blind, and now she is. And alone. I think it's fairly obvious that Jewel is not alright. She has body integrity identity disorder, an interesting condition that makes able-bodied people believe they are or should be disabled. Funny enough, the community she was so desperate to belong to, they really don't like her. This is what's sometimes called transabled. People who identify as disabled and may induce or accentuate a disability. It might be identity-driven, psychological, or a combination, like in Jewel's case. This disorder, this category, makes it really difficult to define disability, but also consent. Isn't that creepy? An alleged doctor chemically blinds her and she's totally fine with it. It's clear that this physician's license needs to be revoked because how many Jewels this person has dealt with? How many more patients has this doctor helped? I'm surprised there's no investigation behind this case. There's a lunatic with a degree and we're okay with it? Well, going back to Jewel. It's sad, man. Her life is sad. She clearly wanted to belong, she felt the need to become someone else, and lost her family when she succeeded. This category shows the most extreme boundary. Creating a disability not for financial gain or attention, but for identity or psychological accomplishments. Neil Hopper was a vascular surgeon who had performed hundreds of amputations in his days, so it was horrible to find out he was the one in need for his legs to be cut off. Talk about irony here. In May of 2019, he had to undergo a double leg amputation after complaining of severe foot pain. Unfortunately, he was suffering from sepsis, so the surgeon had no other choice but to cut his legs below the knee. Neil didn't disclose what really happened. Why was he in pain in the first place? But he sure told the insurance company that he lost his legs due to sepsis and it was for sure non-inflicted. Trust me, bro. 466,000 pounds and 2 prosthetic legs later, Neil was back to work. What a champ. But Neil wasn't only a great surgeon with great medical ethics, but he was also a bit of a blabbermouth. Neil told a friend he used dry ice to freeze his legs in order for them to be amputated. But the reasons were not what you think. The money was kind of like a happy accident or an afterthought. The real reason was... yeah. Neil would get off with amputation videos and was determined to cut his own legs because of a weird kink. He later told a friend he will milk it, hence the insurance fraud. Neil was arrested on May of 2023 for possession of extreme pornography and insurance fraud. He spent 2 years and 8 months in prison, with no money and no legs. He was also suspended from his medical practice. This is probably the most shocking story. A medical professional inflicting or allowing harm on his own body in order to assume a disability status and collect the earnings. But putting in more digestible words, the guy was a freak who cut his own legs because he made him horny. Kind of like Patricia, Neil used other people's resources to satisfy his selfish needs. But in this case, he also used the medical system as a tool. This was body modification with a hefty dash of self-harm, and all because of a twisted fantasy. The ultimate self-hindering. Here's a bonus for you. The phenomenon of bug chasing and gift giving. While this is not exactly disability pretenders in the classic sense, it falls under self-harm and identity transformation. Bug chasers are individuals who intentionally seek to contract HIV, sometimes to join the community of those with the virus, to revel, or for erotic reasons, while gift givers are the people with the virus who enjoy infecting their partners with it for the same reasons. But some of the gift givers don't disclose their status to their potential sexual partners, putting them in danger. It's disturbing to know there are people out there willing to infect others or be infected just to fit in or as a fantasy. The virus can be controlled now, thankfully, we're not in the 80s anymore, but still, it's a life filled with medication, and if you fail to follow the doctor's orders, that is straight up AIDS! Just like the lady with the bleach, this trend is filled with mental issues and self-harm ideas. People who engage in this practice are clearly not alright. This is a disability or maybe a chronic illness that has to be chased instead of faked. And that makes it so much weirder than the rest. When you line all these up, malingering for money, factitious disorder for attention or to play a role, identity-driven self-harm or extreme body modification, hell, even disease-seeking, you realize this isn't just about lying for benefits. It's about identity, power, control, or even trauma. And each case undermines support systems, drains resources, and hurt real people with genuine disabilities. This is deeper than an attention-seeking TikToker claiming to have DID. We need to realize the spectrum extends from pretending to becoming disabled, with motives ranging from pragmatic to psychotic. What do you think? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you like the video, give it a like or a dislike, it's okay. And subscribe, it's completely free. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I will see you the next one. Stay safe.